Hey guys, here we go with a film study on Koki Inoue, who is actually Naoya Inoue's cousin. And the reason that we're doing this film study is to talk about the difference between what a really good fighter is and a really okay fighter. Naoya Inoue, in my opinion, he's like an average world champion. He has above average power. I don't know too much about his speed. He hasn't fought a lot of fighters that really passed the eye test that look like fighters. Like that last guy he fought looked kind of. If you saw that guy in his third pro fight, you'd probably be like, yeah, looks like his third pro fight. Um, uh, and so beating that guy is like kind of, what does that mean? You know, Whereas we're going to be looking at Koki Inoue, and we're going to be talking about some of the skills and some of the things that he does during the course of this fight that really separate his skills from his cousins and really make me wonder why he's not the bigger star. But right away, what we're looking at is Koki's coming forward, and look at how he changes levels, right? Uh, and he uses lead hand control, right? So immediately touching gloves with his opponent, right? Now, because he's a southpaw, this is much more common when you have southpaw versus orthodox fighters. And it's much less common in southpaw or orthodox style fights. But the fact that he's using it already separates him from Naoya Inoue, who has the kind of style where he's waiting for you to make a mistake, right? I understand that he's waiting to learn stuff about you, right? But here we have Koki going in and he's learning stuff from his opponent, but he's not waiting for his opponent. He's taking a proactive lead or a proactive role in understanding his opponent's defense, his opponent's patterns, and he's looking to separate himself in that regard. And by being the aggressor, by being the one that's looking for information, because that's all boxing is. Boxing is a sport of information, and the more information, the more predictable that your opponent is, the more opportunities you have to walk them into big shots. And as we saw in the Naoya Inoue fight, the biggest problem that he has is that he doesn't have a proactive role in figuring out that information that's going to help him land and set up punches. Whereas right away we can see Koki is controlling his opponent, right? He's making him feel like he's in danger by using the lead hand. He's also using the lead hand to control his opponent, to keep him on the outside. And it's going to stop his opponent from being able to effectively set up offense um, um, in order to like feint him and get Koki out of position, right? So it has two roles. This type of lead hand dominance. It has two roles. It helps you set up your offense and get information from your opponent, but it also mitigates the amount of information they're able to get from you. We're gonna kind of go more into this, and then right away, watch this. Boom. See how he shoots that jab? Like, tell me if you guys think this jab is supposed to land, right? There's no way that's going to land, right? But what he does is he shoots it at his opponent's glove, and he gets to see how his opponent reacts. And now his opponent reacts by parrying the shot a little bit, right, pushing his glove out, kind of transitioning his way to his back leg, right. He has his right hand up, but he pulls away, and then he goes into a high guard immediately, right. So right here, boom. And then he catches him when he comes back on the line with the jab. He doesn't catch him with it, but he starts shooting the jab. But you can see Koki has his active guard, right? He's going up and down, up and down. And that's something that Naoya Inoue doesn't have. He's very stale in his guard. And I think when he fights a better fighter, it's going to be very easy for his opponents to get him out of position. And now, again, lead hand control, right? That's not a real jab. He's just trying to keep his opponent's gloves at home so his opponent doesn't feel comfortable setting up offense, because his opponent's no fool either. He understands that he has to set his offense up as well. So we have Koki controlling him, looking for information, probing, right? He's like, hey, what are you going to do when I do this? What are you going to do when I do this? And he's learning about stuff from his opponent. And what does he learn right here? By not committing to that shot, right? He learns that his opponent's trying to counter him with that left hook. Now, this is mildly committal, right? He has tested the waters, but notice how he doesn't lunge in there and really try to land that shot, right? It's basically the same jab that he was shooting before, right, on a little bit different of a timing. And now he's able to figure out that his opponent's trying to counter his jab with the hook, right? So what's going on in his opponent's mind is his opponent is saying, hey, he's controlling me with that lead hand. How do I take that lead hand away from him? Oh, classic, I'll just throw the right hook, right? And what does his opponent find out right away? Oh, that because these are not real punches, because he's not exploding out of his guard and taking lead foot dominance, that it's very difficult for him to time and land that shot because Koki's not committing to it, because Koki is feeling his opponent out with this technique. Now he goes and he probes, right? Shoots a probing shot and gets his opponent to bring up his high guard, right? Something that he's seen his opponent do as well. And he's able to kind of throw a left hand through the guard, right? It's not an important idea that the punch doesn't land, but it's important that he understands when his opponent is going to be countering and when his opponent is going to be blocking and when he's in danger. And as we can see in this instance right here, right, the way that his opponent kind of, if he were to counter, right, he might fall onto a right hand anyway, the way that he dips his head. And so Koki says, okay, I feel comfortable even through a right hook, throwing my left hand. Now moving on. Now what happens? Because of the fact that Koki is controlling the space between him and his opponent doesn't have an opportunity to feint him, to probe him, to get him out of position, and winds up just exploding out of his guard with the right hand that Koki's easily able to guard, right, to block. Even though he hasn't seen this pattern from his opponent, Harry Andrianto, he hasn't seen that from him before. He has no reason to think he's going to throw that punch. The fact that he doesn't allow Harry to set the punch up makes it very easy for him to defend, right? And then he goes back to controlling him, right? Lead hand control, active guard, changing levels, probing with the jab, probing with the jab, probing with the jab, again, right? And now he's got his opponent parrying a probing shot, right? So where does he go from there? Let's see. So again, right, his opponent trying to feint him and get him out of position. And what does Koki do? He just takes a step back, right? Maintaining space, but understanding that his opponent is trying to set up a shot right there. And he just takes a step back. Koki kind of inviting him in, and then goes back to controlling his guard, right? Controlling his lead hand. And what does he do? So probe, and then he knows that his opponent is no longer trying to counter him, right? So he opens up for some shots, right? So going back to here, right? So he starts probing again, and he kind of throws like a wide hook, right? A hooking kind of right hand from Koki. I might have called what's his name's right hook or left hook a right hook earlier. Sorry, but anyway, Koki says, "Hey, he's not trying to counter me. I feel safe throwing a punch." So he throws a combination, boom, boom, and then he notices right away that his opponent goes back to the left hook, right, to counter him, and he counters with his own right hook, right, understanding the catch and counter style. When a punch comes from the left, you counter with your left. When a punch comes from the right, boom, you counter with the right. So even though he gets hit with that shot, right, he did feel like it was safe offense, right? We knew that the right hand was safe, or the left hand was safe for Koki because he's thrown it before and his opponent hasn't tried to counter it. But we have seen his opponent try to counter the right hand of Koki, right? And he kind of walks into a little trap that his opponent is setting, waiting for him to throw that shot. But he didn't understand that offense wasn't super safe and winds up getting caught. Now we're going to kind of talk about where he goes from there, now that he knows that his opponent's main source of offense at the moment is attempting to be the right hook, or the left hook, sorry. Again, his opponent not setting up the shot, right, and kind of just comes forward, and he's able to parry that straight right hand from him. Going back to controlling him with the lead hand, control, right, boom, and then trying to kind of anticipate his opponent countering with his own left hook, so he throws his own right hook, but he gets him to move off the guard or off the line, and his opponent doesn't counter, right? But he's able to control the space. And then what does he do? He throws that right hook to the body and understands that the left hook from his opponent is coming because he just got hit with it a few seconds ago, and he understands that after he throws it, he needs to move his head. And I call this type of defense, right? After you throw a punch, and you don't control your opponent, you may not move off the line, but you move your head, right? No matter what you think is happening, you move your head, you roll, you slip, you take a step back. I call it defensive responsibility. And he's able to get away from that shot, right? His opponent does wind up throwing a combination, right, with another punch after, but he's able to catch him on the line as well and land his own punch. But anyway, one thing that we have noticed is that Koki has infinitely more control over his opponent than Naoya Inoue had over his opponent. His opponent was able to feint and probe and shoot jabs to the body and, kind of do what he wanted, even though Naoya Inoue was able to pick up on those patterns and later turn them into offense. Uh, Koki has so much more control. His opponent has been able to do far less in these few minutes of the fight than his opponent. And now again, Koki with complete control over his opponent. His opponent doesn't know what to do, right? Koki with the active guard, flashing the lead hand, probing, controlling him with the lead hand. See how his lead hand is out there just a little bit, and that makes his opponent, even though he's a lot smaller, and that obviously plays to Koki's strength. Um, his opponent doesn't feel comfortable coming into that range because he sees how close that lead hand is to him, and he's able to control it. His opponent's even trying to start to feint him, right? But what does Koki do? He just leaves his hand out there, right? And then touches his glove, and then moves off the line. And it stops his opponent from being able to set up any offense. And now, while this style is very different from Naoya Inoue's, right? So Naoya Inoue wants to invite his opponent in so that he can catch his opponents when they're out of position. Um, Koki's style is a style where he's looking to put you out of position on his own terms. It's much safer. As we saw, he's already found a way to land the straight left hand to the body safely. Even when he followed it up with the right hook to the body, which he didn't know was going to be a safe shot, and his opponent countered. So we can see the differential between what is safe and what is not safe offense. Naoya Inoue's style. If his opponents are able to make adjustments to their patterns, they can catch Naoya Inoue trying to counter simply by feinting him. And when because of Naoya Inoue's style is reactive, if he gets feinted into throwing a punch, he may wind up being countered. Whereas Koki Inoue, when he's feinting and he's probing, he's looking for those counters. And when you don't respond to those counters, when he knows that you're not looking to counter, he can safely throw his offense. And because it's a proactive, he gets to see that you're out of position before he starts throwing his offense. And Naoya Inoue's style is very, very backwards from that. It's exactly the exact opposite. And again, right here, beautiful. Controlling him with the lead hand, right? And what does his opponent do? Koki understands lead hand control, so he understands that that hand is not a danger as long as he's controlling it. So at this moment in time, all he has to watch is Harry Andrianto's right hand, right? So he's waiting, right? And then as soon as Harry feints like he's going to throw that shot, Koki takes a step back and goes to parry it, right? Because he understands that only the right hand is a danger right now. And then he changes angles, right? He moves off the line, right? In case the right hook comes, because that was a right hand feint from his opponent. And then goes immediately back to controlling him. A very, very, very safe and high level offense. And again, right, with all of this probing, right? Probe, probe, probe. He gets to set up a free straight left hand against his opponent and take a step back right after defensive responsibility, moving off the line with your opponent. I don't like moving straight back all the way. I don't think that should be the go-to. But moving off the line regardless, not staying there. And remember last time when he threw the 2 and then he threw the 3, he threw the body shot, that's staying on the line with your opponent. And there's a reason why in my personal boxing philosophy, I don't think you should be throwing combinations, right? Because when you stay on the line with your opponent, you kind of get into that mentality where you are trading punches with them. You're giving them an opportunity to land punches that they didn't have to set up. And that's what happened to him when he threw that right hook to the body. His opponent didn't have to set that shot up. Inoue was just out of position already and walked into it, And now this instance, boom, he knows that the free shot is there because he can see when he's shooting the lead hand control, how his opponent is reacting to it. As you can see, he gets into the high guard and ducks his head, right? Probing, flash the lead hand, and now his opponent instinctively gets into the high guard because he doesn't feel comfortable countering, and eats a straight left hand. Now this is really interesting. Koki Inoue is able to say, hey, well, number one, his opponent starts throwing offense, and what does Koki do? He controls his head, right? Puts his glove into his face and moves his head off the line and controls Koki, and now Koki can't follow up with any other shots, right? Beautiful defense. And he moves back off the line, defensive responsibility and a little bit of control. He gets bonus points in that regard. And then what does he do? So this is what he learned from this instance, right? He learned that now Koki wants to counter the left hand, right? So Koki is waiting for the left hand now because he doesn't feel comfortable. Harry doesn't feel comfortable being proactive because he's being controlled. When he has exploded out of his guard with his straight right hand, his offense has been completely ineffective because he doesn't have the opportunity to set it up because Koki is controlling him. So he has to find other opportunities that are reactive, and he's found that the right hook or the left hook is not working because Koki is using the probing style, so he doesn't have to commit to that shot. So Harry is really finding a very difficult time of finding offense, but he is making adjustments and making as much of the few opportunities that Koki is giving him. He's trying his best to make as much offense out of that as possible. So what did we just learn from there? Because Harry doesn't feel comfortable leading, he's looking to counter, right? He's waiting for Koki to put himself out of position, but unfortunately for him, in this situation, Koki is able to parry the shots, move off the line after shooting, and take a step back. And he's not able to capitalize on Koki being out of position. Now again, Koki goes back to controlling him, control, and then beautiful. Shoots the right uppercut on the inside and then shoots the left hand. And what happens? What we know is that Koki is looking, or Harry is looking for an opportunity to counter him after a follow-up shots. So what does Koki do? He follows the shots up, right? Boom. And then he kind of shoots a probing uppercut, left hand, and then waits for his opponent to get out of position and tries to land the right hook. He understands when these openings are going to be created because he understands how much control he has over his opponent. Now, I think it might have been a little dangerous, right? But the fact is that you can tell that he's thinking, that he knows when his opponent is looking to set up offense, and it's only off of his opponent's offense. Now, this is a really interesting scene right here, right? So Koki stops controlling his opponent, right? For some reason, he takes a few steps back, right? He feints him a little bit, but his opponent kind of keeps walking forward, right? He moves off the line like a little bit, and then they start butting up, right? And what's happening here is his opponent understands that he needs Koki to be out of position in order to throw his punches. Otherwise, he's going to get countered or Koki's going to see the punches coming. So Harry is moving forward into Koki's guard, hoping that Koki is going to throw a right hand, right? So he can counter with the left hook, or throw a left hand so he can counter with the right hook. And he's hoping that Koki is going to open himself up from these situations while he's able to be in his high guard and block most of a shot and catch him. But Koki is very smart and just pushes off with him, control, and then controls him with the lead hand and moves off the line, right? He understands exactly what his opponent is doing, and then his opponent is left with the same basic offense where he shoots a straight right hand down the pipe, and Koki's able to just simply move off the line a little bit and stop it from being effective at all. So far, a fantastic fighter. Koki is very, very talented. Again, right? Probe, right? Controlling him, right? And then shoots a jab and lands a jab because he sees that his opponent is no longer comfortable countering him. He's not comfortable following up on the lead hand. He's not comfortable following up on the counters for the combinations that Koki throws. And that's because Koki is doing such a good job of taking those opportunities away from him. Beautiful. Controlling him with the lead hand, and then boom, throwing some body shots. And again, his opponent all of a sudden is no longer interested in punching with Koki because he sees that Koki is setting him up, right? So last time he threw the shot, he threw the jab, and then he threw the uppercut, the right hand, and that was all probing to get Harry to throw his own left hook so he could catch him with his own right hook, right? And now his opponent doesn't feel comfortable throwing those shots either, and he's able to open up a little more. We did see the left hand right there from Harry. But again, all of the feinting, all of the probing, all of the control, and understanding what he's trying to set up, right? And understanding what Harry is doing, he's able to take most of Harry's offense away. Again, probing, right? Probe, gets him into the high guard, and then gets a free punch to the body, right? He's so much more effective than Naoya Inoue is, because Inoue is waiting for his opponents to make mistakes, right? But here we have Koki pushing his opponent into making mistakes, right? Good fighters capitalize on your mistakes. Great fighters make you make mistakes. And by getting into his high guard right here, Harry is making a mistake. And it's thanks to the fact that Koki is able to pick up on this pattern and put him into that position. Anyway, I think this round is almost over. I'm not sure, but we'll kind of watch it. I'll talk a little bit more about it again. We're just gonna go through it though. It's like we're 20 minutes in, but in my opinion, I think that Koki is the real monster in the Inoue family. He's got the higher skill set. He understands more about combat, how to control his opponents. Again, like beautiful work right here, right? His opponent rolls in and looks to body up with him kind of and control him. And what does he do? He controls and pushes him back and then uses that opportunity to throw a right uppercut, you know? Beautiful probing right here. Probe, right? So he probes with the lead hand, probes with the left hand, and then throws a hook because he knows his opponent's just moving back. You know, his opponent's just trying to create space, controlling him again, right? And his opponent doesn't have any opportunities to really set up his offense safely because Koki is able to take them away. And look at the active guard. Again, beautiful. He gets his opponent to shoot a straight right hand that was not set up at all, and he's able to follow him back and almost land a shot. You know, we'll get back right into the, whoops, how did that go so far? But anyway, we're going to kind of watch the rest of it, and I'll talk a little bit about what's going on. Controlling the space, moving off the line. His opponent's trying to be aggressive. His opponent's kind of got a little more active of a guard. And this is beautiful, you guys. His opponent's trying to put the pressure on him and trying to get Koki out of position. So what does he do? Shoots the lead hand. Shoots the lead hand. And now his opponent, instead of pressing forward and coming forward, his opponent has to vie for lead hand control so he can control the space between him and his opponent. And that'll give him the opportunity to use feints and use probes. Whoops. To set up his offense. But he's having a very difficult time because of the fact that Koki has so much more combat sports knowledge than he does. And beautiful. Control him, control him. As soon as he gets him to play the control game, he flashes the lead hand one more time and shoots a left hand to the body. Free offense because he set it up, because he used his mind, because he used his head. He's able to set these punches up, and he doesn't have to wait for his opponent. He doesn't have to wait for his opponent to make a mistake. Koki understands that he knows how to make his opponents make mistakes by being active, by being proactive, using probes. Again, beautiful. Probe, right? His opponent tries to slide off the line, and as he turns away, catches him with another right hook. Just beautiful boxing. And his opponent just doesn't feel comfortable doing anything. I also have his most recent fight as well, in which he fights somebody. I couldn't find any Wikipedia stuff on him, but he looks like he passes the eye test as well. He was very likely like a Muay Thai fighter or a kickboxer. Look at this, you guys. Beautiful. His opponent flies out of his guard, right? Throws a left hook, throws a right hand, but he has no opportunity to land these punches because of the fact that he's not setting them up. Right? And that's exactly why you want to use probes, why you want to use lead hand control, which is exactly why you want to bait your opponent into getting out of position. You don't just want to fly in there, right? Koki, for all intents and purposes, he could actually just start countering these shots as well and really taking his opponent out if he wanted to, right? Maybe he didn't train those or drill those for this fight. Who knows? Whatever. It's not important. But also the fact that Harry hasn't had the opportunity to throw a lot of these shots, so his offense isn't really all that predictable at the moment because Koki has had so much control of him. And that goes another step further because of the fact that Harry hasn't had a lot of opportunities to throw offense at Koki, he hasn't learned anything about Koki's defense either. So he's starting at the base of the fight. This is basically round one for him because Koki has had all the control. Now anyway, we're going to kind of go through and see him probing, and again, beautiful. Probing shot right here, boom. He gets his opponent to lead in, move out of position, right? So if you look at it, probe, and then he probes with the straight left hand, and his opponent ducks it because he doesn't want to get hit. And what does Koki do? Boom, he catches him with the right hand to the body off of 2 probes. And this is something that Naoya Inoue hasn't shown that he understands, you know. Now it's difficult. Oh goodness. Some good stuff right there. Um but we'll watch that again. So probe, probe. Oh god. So probe, probe, and then he throws like an uppercut probe to kind of get his opponent to pick his head up so that he doesn't duck down. He gets his opponent to bring his head up and then throw that right hook, boom, and then throw just another combination because now his opponent is no longer interested in countering him because he understands that if he's countering, he's punching with Koki, and he's only putting himself out of a position and in more harm. But yeah, in my opinion, Koki Inoue is the real monster in the Inoue family. This guy has a fantastic future ahead of him as long as he continues to learn and understand that he needs to set up each and every step of his offense, right? And this in particular is referring to the probe, left hand to the body, right hook to the body. He didn't know that the right hook to the body was going to be a safe punch or not. He hadn't seen very many times how his opponent reacted to the left hand to the body, or the probing. Maybe he could have thrown a probing right hook or something to get his opponent to react, to find out that information, you know. But a phenomenal fight. This is almost a perfect fight for someone to watch and to really study and understand boxing. Now these ideas, even though it is a southpaw versus a orthodox fighter, these ideas can be extrapolated to controlling orthodox or southpaw and southpaw fighters. It's the idea that you don't want your opponent allowed into the space between you and him, because that's where they do all their work, right? So like if you think about it, and just real quick, the feinting, right? So like what the end goal is to land a punch, right? That's dessert, right? That's dessert. That's what you want. You want to get to dessert. But everything before that is the work before it, right? That's the main course, right? It's what you do and how you get the information. So if you want to land like a shot to the body, right, you might want to bring your opponent's hands up, right? So you probe, boom, 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 you probe, and then maybe they don't react very well to the probing left hand. Maybe they just start catching it, right, and moving back like this, right? And you want to land a shot to the body, right? So boom, boom, and they move back like this. Now you have a straight right hand to the body, right? Or say the other way around, right? They're like boom, boom. They're vying for lead hand control with you, right? And just touching your hand, right? And say you feint a right hand at them, right? And they slip it like this, right? So now that they slipped, they're open for a left hand to the body, right? Boom, because they're on your right side, right? Probe, but because it's not a real shot, you're not throwing your weight into the shot like this, right? You're able to boom, 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 and then just rip a left hook to the body, right? Or even like an uppercut to the head. You know, you have all these opportunities to get your opponent out of position by using control and using control tactics from a distance. You know, obviously there's the defensive control tactics, which were not really present in this fight because he just beat that guy's ass. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Koki Inoue is actually the better fighter between Naoya Inoue. He's actually a really phenomenal talent, and I'm really excited that I was able to find his video and break it down. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks, guys.